Okay, lesson 3, the March Madness Draft Challenge. If you haven't read the rules yet, please pause the video. If you have read the rules, let's get right to it. So really, is there a mathematical approach to this problem? Your students are going to want to discuss this tournament and make predictions based upon all kinds of crazy things, where their uncle went to college and who the mascot is and what colors the team are. All great. That's part of the fun here. What I always tell my students is that they need to develop a mathematical model, a framework to choose their cohort of teams. Now, if they choose to deviate from that mathematical model, that's okay, and as long as they explain their choices. So I want them to get the experience of building this mathematical model, but also give them some flexibility. Okay, so right away, the kids are going to want to think about, well, we've got this great data set from the 538 that simulated the tournament 10,000 times. They're going to want to know the probabilities of teams winning this tournament. So let's start by looking at exactly that. We're going to drag team name in, okay, and you can see that gives me the list of all of the teams here. Now I'm going to want to filter this on gender. Just do one at a time. So I'm going to start just by looking at the women's bracket. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is drag in this measure, okay, round 7 win probability. And that is the probability that the team wins the championship, okay? Literally, it would be the number of simulations that they won divided by 10,000. Okay, and now I'm going to press this button up here, which will sort this thing descending. And we can see that South Carolina is the overwhelming favorite in the women's bracket, a 64% win probability, followed by Indiana, Stanford, Connecticut, down the line. Now, of course, we can easily pivot it over to the men's bracket. Okay, we can see Houston, Alabama, Texas, Purdue. Now, it's kind of interesting. Next thing I want to look at is how these win probabilities are related to the team's seed. So I'm going to drag team seed into color, and we can see that for the men's bracket here, the number 1 seeds get this dark blue, and indeed they are 4 out of the top 5 win probabilities, but Texas, the number 2 seed, and Gonzaga, number 3 seed, actually have high win probabilities here. Kind of interesting. All right. Now, back to the rules of this contest. Okay. Not only do we need to think about teams' probability of winning it, but we also need to think about their cost. Indeed, mathematically, this problem is interesting because we're trying to maximize the number of points that the teams in our cohort will earn while keeping our cost under $224. Now, we don't know how many points a team is going to accumulate, so what we're going to use is a mathematical concept called expected value. Okay, and expected value is in essence a weighted average. We're going to take each possible outcome and multiply it by the probability of that outcome. Okay, now the way that this is going to look here, we're going to need to do a calculated field. Okay, so I would create a calculated field and name it expected points. Okay, now I've already created this, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like. Okay, here's what I did. I took each team's round 2, opening round win probability, and multiplied it by 1, because that's the number of points you get if a team wins in the first round, plus the probability of the team making and then winning the second round times 2, plus the probability of round 4 times 3, right on up the line. Okay, a national championship win gets you 13 points. All right, so this is a pretty straightforward weighted average, or what we call expected value in mathematics. And now that I've created that, we can take a look at which teams we expect to win the most points. Again, I'm going to start just with the women's here. And again, I'm going to sort it descending. We think South Carolina is going to win 24.85 points. They are way ahead, over twice the next team. Indiana, Connecticut, Stanford, Iowa, right on down the line. Now, this is good. We want to know who's most likely to accumulate a lot of points. But the other constraint that we have is that we can only spend $224. Okay, and while some of these teams are expected to get a lot of points, maybe there's better value out there. Teams who maybe have lower expected points, but maybe have a lot lower cost. All right, so somehow we need to relate expected points with the cost of these teams. Okay, and if you guys remember, here are the costs of the teams. A number 1 seed, $75. A number 16 seed is only $1. So again, what we're going to need to do here is create another calculated field. Okay, and this one I called expected points per dollar. I'm going to show you the formula that I've got here. Actually, before I do that, I need to show you the team cost variable. Okay, so I said if the team is seeded first, then their cost is $75. Else if the team is seeded second, then their cost is $40. Else if third, then $25. Right on down the line, a number 16 seed only costs $1. Okay, so again, pause the video if you want to copy this. So now that we've got the team's cost, we can do expected points per dollar. Very simply, it's expected points divided by the team's cost. And now, this is the most important graph that we're going to build. We want each team. Again, I'm going to filter on gender. We'll start just with the women. And now we're going to drag in expected points per dollar. And the best value is here at the top. Okay, South Carolina, Louisiana State, Connecticut. Interesting too, if we drag in the team seeds here, we can see that while South Carolina is the best value, next up is Louisiana State. They were a 3 seed, UConn a 2 seed, some 4 seeds in there. And when we go to the men's side of the bracket, okay, we can see it looks very different. The best buy here is actually Creighton, the 6 seed, and it's kind of interesting. So how do we decide who to purchase for our team cohort? Okay, well, one approach would be to just work our way down here until we run out of money. Okay, these are the teams that we think will get you the most points at the cheapest value. So you just keep going until you get to $224. All right. To help with that, certainly I could drag teams cost into the tooltip here, and now we can see, there's Creighton $15, UConn $20, right on down the line. Okay, and students are supposed to spend $224 on both the men's tournament and the women's tournament. Good luck and have fun with this.